couple of events have occurred in the last few weeks that are demonstrative of a number of elements that were in the book, No Way to Fight a War, that I thought might be interesting to bring up. One of them is the tale of Bowe Bergdahl, the private sergeant, whatever he happens to be today, deserter from Afghanistan, and the trade with the five bad guys that were in Gitmo for the last 12 years or so, and the trade. The other element happens to do with a kind of a issue that is fairly fresh, and that is the movement among some of our elites in Congress and our leadership in the Defense Department to ban the use of tobacco in the military completely. I bring these up, and they seem to be unrelated, but I bring them up for a couple of reasons. One is, I think the whole issue of desertion helps to illustrate the divide that is between the military and the civilian government and the news media. It is clear that the government, the members of the ruling party, the president and his circle of advisors, as well as the large portion of the news media, the mainstream media, whatever you want to call them, and the military, in their lack of understanding of the concept of desertion. The military, there isn't a man or woman in the military, past or present, that doesn't understand the concept of desertion, what it is, what causes it, and how serious it is. It's the real essence of service, is that in the military you don't have the option of quitting your job and walking away. Without it, there's nothing. And it's clear that our civilian leadership doesn't understand that, and our news media doesn't understand it as well. The other issue has to do with the advice and consent issue of the president and his advisors. We were told at the time of the trade of the 5 terrorists for the 1 deserter, Bowe Bergdahl, that this was a unanimous vote of the president's inner circle of advisors, which includes the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, General Dempsey. Found it interesting that this is one of those cases where you would expect, or those of us with military background would expect, the senior leadership in the military, at least someone, to step up and say, that's wrong, it's a bad idea, don't do it, Mr. President. If you do, I'm resigning. Someone needed to make a stand. Obviously, General Dempsey and none of the Joint Chiefs and none of the leadership took a stand. Apparently they're more interested, some of the senior leadership is more interested in kowtowing to their civilian leadership sponsors, whatever you want to call them, by talking about global warming and all of that, rather than issues that are of importance to their people, the members of the military. And I find this curious when you juxtapose it with the issue of smoking or the use of tobacco in the military. The use of tobacco in the military has a fairly long and rich tradition, and I'm not endorsing the use of tobacco. I don't smoke, and I recognize that it has serious health implications. But at least General Dempsey was courageous enough to step up and say, that may not be such a good idea and you should tread lightly. We've already, impacted on it. The Navy has banned it, and the use of tobacco in many places. Sales of tobacco has become more difficult. But it's got a long tradition in the military, and General Dempsey has advised us it's not such a good idea. Well, my point here is that why is it that on issues of social engineering, such as smoking, and this is just the latest example of social engineering on the part of Congress toward the military in imposing certain things on the military that they can't impose on the society at large, why is it that General Dempsey sees fit to step up and challenge the civilian leadership on an issue of social engineering, but he's not able to step up and challenge a decision regarding the issue of prisoner exchange or trade for these Al-Qaeda terrorists? Just saying. It's a question worth looking into, and of deep concern to me, as I expressed in the book, that the divide between the military and civilian leadership is greater and greater, and in an all-volunteer force, this is a very dangerous thing. As I pointed out in the book, the military is disproportionately represented by more conservative, or what we call red states, and as you can see for the last several years, the leadership in the Congress, Senate in particular, and in the White House has been a blue state or liberal persuasion, and you can begin to see this breakdown and what the implications may be in the future with an all-volunteer force. I would say that we run a very high risk of losing some of our best people and retaining a bunch of yes men, and that is not good for the Republic.